we cast an audience member in the lead role. So the structure is there to support and keep the audience member protected and safe. The structure allows the improvisers to know there are narrative signposts that, are sort of floating in the distance. And that allows you as the improviser to then be completely present with your civilian guest. You can just really be with them, listening and responding, as we all do as human beings, to any kind of conversation or a meeting or gameplay.
Let's get this show on the road. Wherever you are, get in your car and come on down, enjoy a show. If it's your first time, well, jump on in. By the end of this drive, you'll be a Shavian. No, let's get this show on the road.
Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Spike.
I'm a little emotional.
Here we are, episode 13, the final of this series of the podcast.
This is crazy.
Yeah, we got here.
It has been such a beautiful journey from when we first started talking about this, like way back in January, I think it was, and it kind of dropped from the sky. Like we got called into a meeting and it was like, hey, could you do this and how soon could you do it? And I immediately looked right at Kelly and said, Kelly, how soon can we do this? You better answer that.
And I just started Googling, how do you make a podcast?
Well, and you have a lot of incredible producing background, and it really has been incredible to watch you stepping into this and putting this podcast together as you have, because I just sort of feel like sometimes I sit here and just get to be the chatty one.
But to watch you develop your skills as an interviewer and to see that evolution over the course of the season too, and how I know one of the things that you said when you came into this was that you wanted to make the conversations feel like they were natural and organically flowing. And even though they were great at the beginning, by the end of this, I feel like you are a master interviewer, and it's only going to grow if we continue this next year.
But Kelly, is this it for this season?
Well, Spike, that is it for this 2025 season proper. But this is a good reminder, if you're not already subscribed, subscribe and to follow.
Click that button.
Episodes in your feed every Thursday. We're going to come back with a couple special holiday episodes this fall.
Yay.
We're going to talk to some of the creatives behind White Christmas and A Christmas Carol to dive deep into both those productions, but also the closing of the Royal George. This will be the last production in the George.
Yeah, this is our big capital campaign, the rebuilding of the Royal George, which desperately needs it. It is not an accessible building. It floods when it rains. There is black mold in the changing rooms.
Yeah.
And a beautiful life and the vision for what's coming. And we'll hear a little bit more about that from TC when he's on for the holiday episodes.
Before we get to our interview with Rebecca and Bowman, we have a lovely letter from one of our listeners.
Yes, we do. This comes from Karen Tribble. Hi, I want to say that this podcast is a brilliant idea. And I just want to comment on something TC said in episode 2. That was that people in their 50s and 60s will normally not come to the theater if they have not attended as a child. He is so right. I am 72 and only became engaged with theater in 2022 at the age of 69. I had no exposure to theater as a child except for the annual high school trip to Stratford. But back in the 1960s, we had no preparation or after-play discussions in school. To this day, I hate Shakespeare. During COVID, I watched videos produced by Stratford and Shaw, but realized that I was missing a whole world of storytelling and theater experience. So, at 69, I started attending more productions at Shaw and have become an avid theater goer. It has been an amazing experience for me and has enriched my life immensely. I am sad that I have come to theater so late in life, but you can teach an old dog new tricks. I am the poster child. I look forward to your future episodes and seeing all of you at the theater. Happy storytelling, Karen Tribble.
Thank you, Karen, for sending that.
So we are going to chat with Rebecca and Bowman, Kristopher Bowman. We know him around here as Bowman. And Rebecca, you would have seen in The Apple Cart and the improvised game of Love and Chance. Rebecca, we are very lucky to have here at the Shaw Festival, is one of North America's top improvisers, and she has her company, Spontaneous Theater, that is well known for a production called Blind Date. This is where Rebecca brings someone up on stage and literally goes on a blind date with them. It's absolutely stunning. And you may also have seen a gathering of goblins taking over theaters across the country with their Goblin Macbeth and a couple of other of their Goblin escapades.
And Kristopher Bowman is in his 9th season with the Shaw Festival, although some of our audience might not realize that he has a strong background in improv theater as well. Here at the festival, you will have seen him in Witness for the Prosecution, This Is How We Got Here, and this season he'll also be seen in Wait Until Dark. But before the chat, let's hear from TC about his thoughts on Murder on the Lake in Niagara on the Lake.
I think it was probably in the middle of one of the shows of The Game of Love and Chance in the Spiegel tent, where Rebecca and the rest of the cast were reducing the audience to helpless laughter. I just thought, this is the sort of thing I came here to do. You know, I came here to bring a sense of excitement and spontaneity and unpredictability and even a bit of naughtiness. And I was so thrilled by the way that we managed to create those qualities in The Game of Love and Chance that I immediately knew that we had to build on it. And I knew also that I hadn't really employed Rebecca Northan as much as I could have done, because I was the director of The Game of Love and Chance and it was my idea. So given that Rebecca is Canada, indeed one of the world's leading improvisers and experts in spontaneous theatre, I immediately started talking to her about what could we do. And it was her idea to do a spontaneous murder mystery with an audience member as the detective. It happens in Niagara on the Lake, or perhaps just offshore, we shall see. And the genius of it is that Rebecca and her team, especially Bruce, with whom she works, have had to come up with a very, very watertight plot and create a world in which someone from the audience can go on stage, be well looked after, not be made a fool of, and be given enough clues to have a chance of working out who done it. So I think seeing the reaction that the audience have always given us to the opportunities we've given them to participate, I think we will have no shortage of volunteers. And Rebecca has her own brilliant system for working out who should be the detective each night. The value of improvisation is that it returns us to one of the central values of theatre, which is if you go to the cinema or if you watch television, you are going to get exactly the same thing night after night. If they show Casablanca, it will be exactly the same performance every time between now and the end of the world. Whereas theatre has, as its huge selling point, the fact that it's different every night. And therefore, when people talk to me about, okay, at what point do we freeze the show, meaning nothing else can change about it, I want to run away, because I say to them, why would we freeze the show and take away the thing that makes it so special, the thing that makes it much more valuable than cinema or TV or YouTube?
Oh my God. See, but the people can't see you, Bowman.
It's okay.
With
That's
a book
fine.
in your hand. But is that the book that you are actually on the cover of?
It's one of 6 books that he's on the cover
It's one
of.
of them that I'm...
God, what is that called?
Once Upon a Christmas. It's from the American Dads collection.
American
It's a tremendous
Dad's
read.
collection. Does that come with a doll like those American Girl dolls?
Don't be ridiculous. This
I
is
wish.
real literature.
For those who can't see the video and they're just listening, can you describe to us, Bowman, exactly what is on that cover?
Well, there's my okay. Hold on.
Oh, you
There's,
picked up another one.
No, don't hold it up to the camera, Bowman. No
no,
one
I'm
who's
gonna-
listening can hear
It's the
can
auditory.
actually see this.
Oh yeah, this is one of those listening podcasts.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Right.
What's on the cover?
There is like a young lady who is seems fairly like she likes me. I'm standing in a very, very nice sweater and a Christmas hat because I later found out when I read this that I am a sort of like a stepdad to this young boy and this woman who got left by some gentleman. And I'm a Christmas tree salesman. And like she's not ready for love, but that's kind of what I bring to the table. Yeah,
And these are
there's,
like Harlequin romance types.
Yes.
I love that you
Yes.
just
Wow.
have a stack of your own books sitting next to you.
But not that you wrote the books.
No,
You're just
I'm-
on the cover of the books.
Yeah,
Of
I'm
these
a-
Harlequin romances.
Yeah, I'm a reader, Kelly. I'm a reader. Yeah, no, it's but like
Okay,
I ended
how did you get this gig? What is that?
when I moved to Toronto, I wanted to be like at the time I was living in Kitchener. I was a landscaper, and at like 25 was like I should probably try and pursue this dream of being like an actor and a comedian and doing all the things. I figured that way when I ultimately failed, then I could say I did and I tried. And so I moved to Toronto, and a friend of mine I was sitting and having sushi with or something, and he was like, "Well, you have some basic symmetry. Why don't you try being a model?" Yeah, basic symmetry is the nicest thing any friend has ever said to me. And I was like, cool. And I got a call from my agent, and, my mom's just tucked in the doorway while I'm talking to her. "Hi, it's Tara. I just wanted to let you know I've got a booking for you." And I was like, "Oh, like a booking? Like I got it. I don't have to audition." She was like, "No. You're going to be on the cover of a book. It pays $190 an hour for 3 hours guaranteed." And from that moment on, like I heard, like I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to pay my rent in like one session. And I was just like, this is amazing. Great. Okay, I'm going to be on the cover of a book. Thank you so much. Sorry, what's the book called? And she was like, "Oh, it's a Harlequin." And I was like, "Oh, great. Thank you so much." I hang up the phone. I'm like, "Ma, guess what? I got my first gig." And my mom's like, "Oh my gosh, my son, the professional model." And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "What is it?" And I was like, "I'm going to be on the cover of a book." And she was like, "Oh, great. What's it called?" And I was like, "Mom, it sounds so familiar. It's called a Harlequin." And my mom breaks down laughing. She's like, "Oh my God, my son's going to be one of those men." And I was like, she could see on my face, I had no idea what she was talking about. And she just looked at me and said one word. She went, "Fabio." And then you just picture yourself on like a white horse with a castle in the background and a flowing open shirt. And so like this is my favorite one. It's called Protected in His Arms. I play Special Agent Gideon Brand, who is sent to protect the daughter of a senator who happens to be a psychic. It's
Oh my God.
phenomenal.
Wow.
It's
Good rating. Good rating.
yeah, but at
Excellent.
$5 a piece, I like give them away as Christmas presents. They were great as like prizes for games at intermission of shows that I would do. So yeah.
Okay. Well, so Rebecca,
Hi. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Whatever time you're listening. Hello.
how did you get your start in theater?
Ooh. My brother and I used to do commercial parodies in the living room for our parents
Yes.
before they got divorced.
Oh God.
And our young comedic skills were not enough to keep them laughing and keep them together. That's the truth. Listen, we're fine.
Everyone's
we're fine.
great.
Yes. Oh gosh. Yes, we're fine. We're fine. But truly, that's really when both my brother and I were both like, hey, we seem to have a skill for making people laugh. I think when I was in high school, I was introduced to theater sports in my high school drama class, which is a competitive form of improvisation invented by a fellow named Keith Johnstone. And I just kind of fell in love with it. And then it turned out that Keith Johnstone had a theater in Calgary. How strange, because he's a British guy. And it happened to be really close to my house, like a 40-minute bike ride. That's close on the prairies. And so I just started volunteering at the Loose Moose Theater, it's called, when I was 16. And the deal was, if you volunteer for the company, you can have free classes. And if you've got some chops, we'll let you on stage. And so the theater in the 80s was sorely lacking in female improvisers. So I got on stage very quickly. And I got to have free classes with this strange British man. It wasn't until I got to university that I really sort of started to understand that, oh, he's like the guy on the planet for teaching improvisation. So that's where I sort of really was like getting up on stage every week and taking classes. But I still wanted to be a serious actor, like Bowman said. And so I went to the University of Calgary to do a theater degree and kind of got obsessed with Shakespeare and the classics while I was in school. So improv on one hand and Shakespeare and the classics on the other.
You actually have a really great story that you shared with me about the doors, the opposing doors. Could you share that story? Because I think that is the polar pull, right?
Yeah. When I got to university, Keith Johnstone was a professor there. I ended up in a number of senior level classes with a woman named Pamela Brooke, who is in her day a pretty successful Canadian actor, both up here in Canada and in the States. And in any case, Pamela really was the Shakespeare expert on faculty. And so it happened that Keith and Pamela had their office doors side by side. Pamela's door was just, covered in beautiful postcards of artwork and all kinds of quotes. And the most prominent quote on her door was from Hamlet, "The readiness is all." Keith had nothing on his door except a cartoon sketch of a moose possibly masturbating just out of frame. And in response to Pamela putting up "The readiness is all," he put up "Don't be prepared." And so those were my two most influential professors with their office doors side by side. And it's only now at this point in my career, looking backwards, that I see that I have spent at least the last 15 or 20 years of my own career trying to squeeze between those two doors. The readiness is all and don't be prepared. In theory, two ends of this opposite ends of a spectrum together. They're actually not that far apart, not really.
And so I guess that would be a great way for us to talk about improvisation. So we're here to talk about Murder on the Lake, but it strikes me that this is it is that pull between the idea that here we are at the Shaw Festival, we're doing Shaw, we're doing the plays of Shaw that are very dense, they're very text forward. There's all sorts that is about the readiness that you need to have to be able to work with the Shaw and language and the text. But then we have something like Murder on the Lake. We have something like Game of Love and Chance, which you both were in 2 years ago and helped to create and to develop. So I guess I want to toss a very big question to both of you. But what is improvisation?
That is a huge question. I'll take a stab at it, an imperfect stab. I think improvisation is a skill that every human being comes into the world with, first and foremost. And it is the innate ability to notice a creative impulse and to follow it. When you talk about theatrical improvisation, then you're starting to move towards, I would say, the spontaneous pursuit of structure. That's the school of improvisation I come from. So in the improv world, I am known as a classic Johnstonian because I almost exclusively in my formative years trained with Keith Johnstone, which means that my onstage approach to improvisation is the pursuit of narrative. And the reason for that was that Keith's early work in improvisation came out of a desire at the Royal Court Theatre in London, England, to help actors working on scripted work be more present. And him having his roots in the traditional theater and script work is really kind of where everything comes from. The American school of improvisation, often improvisation gets used as a tool to create sketch comedy. So the end goals are slightly different. We share a lot of technical vocabulary, but we don't necessarily mean the same thing when we use them. So coming back to, well, what is improvisation? What is theatrical improvisation? If you're a Johnstonian, you are performing improvisation, usually inside of some sort of greater structure that look like a sporting event, so that you give a rigid structure to protect the performers on the inside, because most improvisation is pretty terrible. Listen, a lot of scripted theater is terrible. They're probably equally terrible. It's just that more people talk about how terrible bad improv is because bad improv like really stinks. So his pursuit was really, it's where the name of my own company comes from, looking for spontaneous theater, the spontaneous creation of theater, which you can't do if you don't understand theatrical structure, narrative structure, etc. And good acting comes into it, ideally.
And how did you find your way to improv, Bowman? How did you loop into that world?
I got into improv. First of all, one of the earliest shows I remember watching was Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I mean, the old British version of it that still had one of my heroes, Colin Mockery. And then it got transported. And my teacher, Nelson Dyke at my high school, introduced us to improv and improv games. And it was the one class in school that I excelled in. And so my teacher, Nelson, introduced me to what apparently was Keith Johnstone's theater sports. And I had no idea. And then I started performing there. And then after I ultimately failed high school, I ended up doing a bunch of odd jobs. And then it wasn't until I had made that decision to go back and ended up being a bit of a model. But I knew that I wanted to train at the Second City, that I wanted to do improv comedy as sort of a base of my training, because I believed that improv could only serve my work as an actor. And I knew that one would service the other. So I ended up going to Second City and training there for a considerable amount of time. I went through the conservatory program. I took any class that I could get a hold of. And then eventually I got hired by their education company and then their family company and eventually their touring company. I did a few cruise ships with them. Yeah, and then I was off to the races.
So how do you balance that in terms of the expectation that, oh, you're coming to an improv show and, oh, it'll just be a ball of laughs, but that there is this rigor, there is this anchor of story. When you started to conceive of Murder on the Lake, Rebecca, and you were actually in the planning stages of that, what was that process like in terms of beginning to build that structure, knowing that there might be a tendency for folks to go towards the funny for your performers? But how did you approach the construction of the story of Murder on the Lake?
I would say Bruce Horak, my co-writer, and I approached it no differently than any playwright who sits down to write a script. One of my favorite things is we knew who our cast was going into it, because we like to write to the strengths of the folks that we're going to work with or create characters that will be fun for those particular folks to play so that they can shine in the best possible way. Narrative. We're creating a murder mystery. We did so much research on the genre. This is our second murder mystery that Bruce and I have created, and it falls under the umbrella of my company, Spontaneous Theater, which for us means highly structured, repeatable narratives that allow for improvisation to coexist. So the story is the same every night. In the case of this murder mystery, there's one right answer. We're not changing it from night to night to night. And what makes our work, I think, unique in the theater world, as well as challenging for those who participate, is that we cast an audience member in the lead role.
Wow, very cool.
So that audience member, right, needs a lot of, so the structure is there to support and keep the audience member protected and safe. The structure allows the improvisers to know there are narrative signposts that, you know, are sort of floating in the distance. And that allows you as the improviser to then be completely present with your civilian guest who has no performance experience, no improv experience. You can just really be with them, listening and responding, as we all do as human beings, to any kind of conversation or a meeting or gameplay. But we always start with, what is the story? What do we want to have happen? And even if we were writing something that was 100% scripted in the murder mystery world, you have to start at the end and then work backwards, because you go, okay, here's the straight line that gives you the right answer. Now, how do we obscure this with red herrings and complicate it and what have you? It's a lot. It's really challenging.
Because I think that there might be the idea that you just come in and do some exercises, some games, some activities,
Sure.
and just sort of go, oh, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
But the planning and the thinking, and I think one of the things that comes out in all of your work through spontaneous theater, and especially when you've done these shows like Blind Date, is the care you take for that participant, that audience member, that their, invitation to come and play this part on the stage with this company, the way that you help them along the way, but also they're also making their own decisions.
Oh,
so
yes.
They're in charge, but they're not alone.
Oh, that's a nice way of putting it, actually. In charge, but not alone. Geez, I want to aspire to that in my personal life. See how my boyfriend feels about that. Very purposefully, we called the company Spontaneous Theater because we wanted to divest ourselves of some of the baggage and expectation that comes along with the word improvisation. The expectation or the implication can be that it's going to be spontaneous sketch comedy and that it better be funny and you better be witty. And so we're like, well, we don't want that kind of pressure on any of our guest performers at all. But I also don't want that pressure on any of the cast members. We really want to bring our whole performing, writing, directing, teaching selves to this forum so that we can take care of the guest and inspire them. I mean, our number one job inside of Murder on the Lake is to take care of the guest and make sure they have a nice time. Always. And that permeates every choice. That ripples up into the tech booth. Normally, what would happen is you would be on headset and the stage manager would tell you when to hit the button to go forward to the next cue that's been designed by the designers. Well, this is far more collaborative, and each artist is given the independence and the encouragement to follow their own impulses. So we'll, for example, say to the lighting technician, listen, our guest is like the puck in a hockey game. Keep the light on the puck at all times. It's the most important thing on the ice. We don't know where the audience member is going to walk on a given night because we don't have any prescribed blocking. So we as the actors are always watching and involved in the kinetic dance that starts to unfold while we plug into that person. And then you've got a lighting improviser who's watching them and changing lights on the fly, or the audience member touches something on the set that happens to be a clue. And then the sound improviser is throwing in a sound cue that lets them know, like in a video game, oh, you just found something important.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's great fun.
So for both of you, what happens if it goes off the rails? What do you do?
We have a device built into all of our spontaneous theater shows that, thanks to our Blind Date American producer, is protected by copyright, amazingly.
Oh, wow.
And that is that we build what we call a timeout into every performance. So off on stage right, way over on stage right, we always have a little square taped out, and there's a stool there. And the guest can call timeout at any point during the show. And if they say timeout, we pause the play and we step outside of the world of the play and we go together to the timeout area. And either myself or one of the actors will check in with the guest and say, hey, what's up? You called timeout. Good for you. How can we help you? Whatever is going on for them. We either answer questions, or if they're confused by something, we can clear things up. If they say, gosh, I don't like what I just said back then. Well, through the magic of theater, we can rewind and allow you to take that moment again. Isn't that great? And also, we as performers can call timeout at any point in time. So the timeout is really there.
So the performers could also call timeout.
Oh, yes. It is there for the care and the comfort and to give the guest a bit of control. It also allows us, if we need to as performers, to call timeout and do a little check-in and say, hey, Doris, how you doing right now? You seem a bit overwhelmed. I don't know you very well, so I just wanted to check and see if I'm reading you correctly. How are you doing? Now, Doris might say, oh my gosh, I'm fine. I'm having so much fun. Okay, great. Good. I'm good to know. Let's go back in. But Doris might say, it's just a lot of information. And right. So, or we might call timeout to say, Doris, we're having so much fun playing with you. It would be great if you could use just a slightly bigger voice, just so everyone can hear you. So we're able to do spot coaching. Some audience members go high level with the timeout and start using it as part of their strategy in solving the murder mystery.
Oh, awesome.
because they really start to engage with the show like a game. Or a couple of our guests have said, oh, it was like being in a live escape room or an immersive escape room. So the timeout really helps us to not go way, way, way off track. I'm very gently tapping wood. Not loud enough that you can hear it on the podcast, but I'm metaphorically tapping wood. That we hope that the structure combined with the skill level of the performers means that we won't get too far off track. I don't know. I think, well, what's the worst thing that can happen?
It is make yuppie, right?
Yeah. Things might go a little oblong, but they don't it doesn't break. That's, again, any piece of wood you can find. But it's that sensation of you can really bend it and it'll structurally hold because, the actors and the performers that we have on the stage are incredibly resilient and clever, and everybody's on hyper alert to serve and help each other. But yeah, it doesn't break. It bends tremendously, but it doesn't break.
Fingers crossed it won't. Could you take us through one of the activities or games or something that you would do in rehearsal? Would that be possible?
Yeah, probably. I would say that one of our favorite warm-up games that we've been playing as a cast that does a whole bunch of things. You start to learn how each other's brains work, and it creates tight, delightful bonds on a regular basis, is a game called Convergence, which I think we could play with you.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, and Kelly, you should participate in this as well because more brains are better.
Yeah, I want to play.
So the goal of this game is that you want two people to say the exact same word at the same time. I don't really ever have a concise way of doing this. And so Bowman and I will kind of do a little bit of a demo for you. We'll see how quickly we can. So you want to converge with the other person. You want to stick to nouns and you want to avoid proper nouns if you can, because it just makes things a little bit more challenging. If your brain gives you a word, you'll indicate to everyone else, I have a word, by either saying one if you're the first person to speak or two if you're the second person. And then those two people will together count 1, 2, 3, and they'll each say their word. So now you have a pair of words, and you ask your brain, what's the most obvious midway point between the two words? And then you just keep repeating that. The other thing is you try not to repeat a word that came earlier in the round. So Bowman and I we'll try.
Awesome.
We'll just do it, just the two of us.
Great.
And then we'll try one with all four of us.
Okay.
1,
2, 1, 2, 3. Frame.
Lip gloss. So our pair of words is frame and lip gloss. So my brain has already given me what I think is an obvious midway point between those two. So I'm going to say 1.
2. 1, 2, 3. Picture.
Mirror. Oh, we have mirror and picture.
Okay.
1.
2.
1, 2, 3.
Reflection.
Selfie and reflection. What's the midway point between selfie and reflection? 1.
2. 1, 2, 3. Screen.
Me and screen. 1.
2.
1, 2, 3. Movie.
Camera. Movie.
1.
2.
1, 2, 3.
Record. Film
and record. 1.
2. 1, 2, 3.
VHS.
Tape.
So I'll pause right now just to say that what's happening with Bowman and I happens a lot, where it's like we're so close.
Oh, he's circling,
we're so close.
circling.
That's right. We're circling the same drain. So what's great about it is, on the one hand, you go, oh, we're really on the same page here. However, what will start to happen if you keep circling, and you're not getting it, what will start to happen internally is you'll start to experience frustration. You start to put a pressure on yourself to look for the right answer. And trying harder doesn't make the game easier.
Right.
So we want to notice in ourselves that I'm getting frustrated. It's making me try harder. It also means that I can't think of a word. I'm not relaxed enough to just let my brain make a connection because I'm trying harder. We want to be in a relaxed state. So I will say the game is tough with just 2 people. When you play it in a larger group, more brains are involved, more connections are getting made.
Well, let's play it with 4.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll have magic. I've got one. 1.
Okay.
2.
We'll count together. 1, 2, 3.
Pizza.
Guitar. Oh, guitar and pizza. What's the most obvious midway point between guitar and pizza? 1.
2.
1, 2, 3.
Teenager. Party. Teenager.
1.
2. 1, 2,
3.
3. Drunk.
Drunk and beer. I was thinking drunk, by the way. Did you say 1, Bowman?
I did.
Oh, we got drunk and beer. 2.
All right.
Bowman and I. 1,
Let's do it.
2, 3.
3.
Hangover.
Alcohol.
I was going to say hangover.
Alcohol and hangover. 1,
2. 1,
1, 2,
3.
water.
Puke.
1,
2, 3.
3.
Dry
Toilet.
heave.
Oh.
Dry heave. Toilet.
I know. This is, by the way, I should say, this is also very normal in the world of improv, that we revisit all of our psychological phases of development. And in very early improv training, things about the toilet come out. Just like toddlers, are like, ooh, everything is about diapers and the toilet. It's very, very normal. Once you progress beyond the toddler phase, then you move into adolescence psychologically as an improviser. And then all the work will be about like making out and having sex and getting together. And it's just like, it's fascinating to watch in a new group getting trained. It's like, it's normal. It happens all the time. I taught a class for a bunch of senior citizens in their 80s and 90s. And I would just walk around and be like, oh, there's the scene where somebody, is taking down their pants. Okay, yeah. Oh, on his toilet. Okay, toddler face. Oh, over here. Oh, this man has met a woman at a bar who has very large breasts. Totally normal. Complete sidebar.
It's incredible that you can track that. But it's
yes.
Let me just segue that into the teaching of improv outside of theater construction. You both do this. You both do this at length. And we know that that's a focus of the Capital Campaign at the Shaw Festival is this Center for Lifelong Learning, a center for aging positively. And what are you discovering when you start to teach these ideas and take these concepts and the atmosphere of improv out into the real world and you start working with people? What is that like? What have you learned or what have you gained from that experience?
I love the shine I can see it puts on people. And I use that term like when if I'm teaching an older group of people, they come in and there might be some hesitancy, there might be some awkwardness in what they're attempting to do. There's always a fear of what they don't know, which is this beautiful place. And then you watch them come out and by the end of it, they have this glow to them like they just sort of de-aged by like a couple of decades where they have this sense of joy and play and want of connection, which I think is just wild, especially after only a couple of hours of a workshop.
I remember actually it was during COVID, you came on and did a workshop, an online workshop for a program that we did with the Shaw Link. And there was a lovely woman who was participating who couldn't keep her seat. She was laughing so hard because you had us running around the house to find something yellow and then come back and do something with that object that wasn't the object that you found. So, someone came back with a banana and put it on their head like a hat. And she couldn't keep her seat. She was laughing and engaging. And she wrote to me afterwards to say that her husband had passed away about a year and a half earlier. And she hadn't laughed like that since he had passed. And she just said it opened up a lightness in her. It opened up something that had been dark in her world since her husband had passed. And just the simple act of going out and running around your house and finding something and reinventing what the purpose of that object is, left her in this real deep sense of joy. And she reconnected with that very deeply.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you for sharing.
What's it like for you, Rebecca? What have you gained from that journey taking this work out into the world?
Oh, it's my favorite thing to take improvisation to the non-professional performers. It's wonderful to remind people that actually they already know how to do it, because we, as children, we know how to play. And fundamentally at its core, that's what improvisation is. It's approaching every encounter with a sense of play, some positivity. And the training of it is really inviting people to notice their own impulse to either say yes to something and move forward, or to shut things down, to avoid the unknown. And what I say in improv classes, so I'm gonna get super nerdy here.
That's it. Bowman's going to put on his glasses again.
Got it.
Okay, great.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. All four of us are wearing glasses. So we're very much in the stereotypical
in the sync. Yep.
Look at that.
of the nerds. So there's a notion underneath all of the games and all of the training that the best improv games are tools to address behaviors that are born out of fear. And so a really kind of classic mainstream, I'm putting air quotes around, rule is the phrase yes and. That's actually almost in the mainstream culture.
Yes.
You hear yes and, it gets made fun of on television, yes and, yes and, yes and. In the Keith Johnstone world, yes and was not ever meant to be a rule. You have to say yes to everything. Yes and is meant to be a prescription for those people who say no out of fear. But if you're in a very comfortable, open, playful state and you're connected with your partner and you're being a bit mischievous, you can absolutely say no. You can say no as long as you're still moving the story forward. A no is not necessarily blocking something from developing. It's just changing the shape of it. But you might not say that to beginner improvisers who, generally speaking, out of impulse to stay in control and to avoid going into the unknown, will say no to things. And so you have to, as an improv teacher, have great empathy for that. I go, oh, it's very normal, by the way, for you to have a fear of going into the unknown. That person says no when they're afraid. So here's your prescription. For the next little while, I want you to say yes and to everybody else's ideas and just feel it. Just feel what it feels like to let go and give over to the other person. And then what does it feel like when they say yes to your ideas and you build something together? How wonderful. Now we're moving forward. So it's about really cultivating a self-awareness and then taking that out into the world with you. And another big piece of the training that I find absolutely thrilling is getting comfortable with failing.
Right.
We cannot do this work. We can't do anything actually as human beings without failing. It's actually the shortest path to learning. So we know that you're going to learn really quickly if you fail. And if you can laugh along the path of failure, the learning will go deeper quicker.
Final question for both of you. I am on the road. I am coming down to the Shaw Festival and I got my ticket for Murder on the Lake and I'm coming. Without giving anything away, is there an Easter egg or a certain moment or something special that I could look out for while I'm watching the show?
Oh, I mean, it's a murder mystery. So there's clues and red herrings and Easter eggs all over the set. If you've got your ticket in your hand and you're coming down, you should be looking for the detective recruitment officers who will be mingling in the lobby and the garden and down in the bar before the show, wondering if you might want to be the detective that day. Because we choose on the day, 20 minutes before the show starts.
Oh, what?
So if you're interested in being the detective, you approach somebody like Bowman will be in his police officer's outfit and he'll fill out an application form and you end up on our maybe list. We usually have 4 or 5 people on our maybe list that we think, oh, they're willing and they seem like they'll be okay. But you don't know for sure that it's you until the lights come up and the show has started and your name gets called from the stage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Bowman, what if there were people out in the mingle, though, that didn't want to participate?
Hey, they don't have to. If you don't want to participate, we do not draft. We take recruits. If you're interested, you can join the maybe pile. But if you're not, then I hope you enjoy the show as a spectator. On a personal note, I used to be professionally good looking. I was on 4 Harlequin romance novels. It should be noted I am as insecure as I am handsome. But if you pay attention on the stage, you might find my books somewhere hidden on the set.
That is so full circle for this conversation.
I forgot about that. That's right. Bowman brought them in, and we've hidden those books just for the fun of it.
Oh, my God.
Just for S&Gs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep your eye out.
That is a brilliant Easter egg. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, friends, for coming on today and talking about this, not just the show in Murder on the Lake, but what improvisation is, that connecting back to play, connecting back to those parts of ourselves that, are inundated with what's happening in our world right now. And that there's a real opportunity in coming to see this show that we could tap into some of that joy and that play and that suspension of our disbelief and really have a magical experience with you and the team. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
It was a real pleasure.
You just both said pleasure at the same time. That was really
we converged.
Convergence!
On pleasure.
Murder on the Lake is playing until October 4th. Tickets available at shawfest.com.
Thank you to Rebecca Northan and Kristopher Bowman for joining us, and thank you, as always, for listening. If you have questions, thoughts, or just want to say hello, drop us a line at podcast@shawfest.com.
Let's Get This Shaw on the Road is hosted by Alexis Milligan and produced by me, Kelly Wong. Original music by Travis Cito. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to us right now. Follow the show to get new episodes, and if you're enjoying it, leave us a review. It helps others discover the show and join in on the conversation.
We have had a wonderful time over the past couple of months bringing you these episodes in our first season of Let's Get This Shaw on the Road, and we look forward to being on the road with you again this fall.
Let's get this Shaw on the road.